Hello everyone, and welcome to the 20th edition of my Retro Movie Minute feature. Yes, I do realize that Avengers Endgame released today, but there's not going to be any video for that for the next several days. Instead, I wanted to celebrate Alien Day by reviewing the second film in the Alien franchise, Aliens. Now you may be wondering, since 2019 is technically the 40th anniversary of the original Alien film by Ridley Scott, why am I not reviewing that film instead? You know, that kind of seems like more of an important milestone for film history. And my simple answer to that is, I've already reviewed Alien last year as part of my Retro Movie Minute feature, and I also have been planning on doing Aliens since then, so I wanted to keep a consistent promise to myself, and here you go. I hope you enjoy my thoughts on this amazing action film from James Cameron. Something I want to do more with my Retro Movie Minute features is not just provide general thoughts on the movie as a whole. I want to make things more specific with what I want to talk about. With movies like Aliens, a lot of people have already seen it anyway, and they know the virtues, and they know the good parts and the memorable scenes, especially one of the most memorable quotes in movie history.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Like, this is the stuff that people already know, so I don't necessarily want to beat a dead horse with anything I'm going to say. Rather, I want to provide individual and unique commentary on the things that I noticed from my rewatch. So what stood out to me? Well, one thing that I find problematic with modern day feminism is that, especially when it comes to film and popular culture, it kind of seems like the general consensus among some extreme supporters of that ideology is that women should not only be empowered, but also they need to do all the things that men can do and basically shame men into being inferior to them. I can kind of understand the impetus behind that because for so many years throughout history, men have been on like a superior plane compared to women. And I can see the way that some people might think that dynamic should be reversed as kind of like a way to right the wrongs of the past. But really, if we're trying to be, progressive and trying to do what is necessary to bring happiness and equality to everyone, both men and women should be praised on their own virtues. And I really appreciate what Aliens does in particular in balancing gender values for both men and women into this awesome, I really mean it, awesome blend of sci-fi and action and horror. A key reason for this, of course, is Sigourney Weaver's Oscar-nominated turn as Ellen Ripley. She was already possibly the strongest character in the original Alien movie, but in that film, towards the end, she kind of becomes like your typical final girl that has become sort of a cliche in modern-day horror films especially. However, with Aliens, what I love about what James Cameron did with that character is that he took her down a progress of character development that not only makes sense based on the traumatic experience that Ripley had gone through in the first movie, but also in such a way that doesn't shy away from the fact that she has trauma, flaws, and stress that carried over in the first movie, but how she's going to deal with that now that she sees that people haven't really changed since, the events of the first film. So it's really interesting to not only see how she reacts to every situation differently than pretty much all of the colonial Marines and Burke and Bishop, but also just as a woman herself, a strong, independent, and capable woman at that, but someone who retains her female identity, someone who doesn't sacrifice who she is just because the screenplay wants her to be some type of overpowered character, I guess. And that's what I appreciate about Aliens so much, is that Ellen represents so many underappreciated female leads in films in the 80s and even the late 70s too. Great examples of this are Princess Leia in the original Star Wars film, and of course the other films in the original trilogy too. Nausicaa from Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind, and of course probably another one of the strongest examples being Sarah Connor from Terminator 2 especially. Some of Ellen Ripley's strongest character dynamics come from the fact that she is pretty much the polar opposite of the Xenomorph Queen while also being kind of like a mirror image of her. What this story ultimately boils down to is it's a contest of power and strength between two different females who kind of have similar qualities. Both of them are very motherly, both are strong, and both are very menacing to the other, especially because they both present a threat to the other side. It just so happens that we have Ellen Ripley as a hero because not only is she more sympathetic as someone who isn't just out there to prey on everybody. She actually has emotion and genuinely cares about others. And of course you have the Xenomorph Queen, who's just basically an animal who's seeking to not only survive herself, but to provide for her own children. And of course Ellen Ripley has those same characteristics too, but she also harbors qualities of empathy and genuine compassion, and the desire to save others, especially when it comes to Newt, the girl that she basically adopts as her own surrogate daughter. All of those things add up to an action film that has genuine heart and emotion behind it, especially in the last half hour. It gives you legitimate reasons to not only care about their fight against the Xenomorph Queen, but just Ellen Ripley's development into someone beyond the final girl, but as an action hero who feels like a mother going to the rescue of everyone else. Other thoughts that I had going into this movie, I was worried that it was going to feel very slow in this revisit because this movie and the original Alien, they don't necessarily keep you on a consistent level of suspense and thrills, since they are definitely slow burns. But I don't mean this as a negative. You know, Aliens is especially tense because you'll have scenes that are kind of drawn out and they build suspense slowly, but it's for a purpose. And the focus of the scene is never lost on anything that is trivial or doesn't really add anything to the overall story. Something always happens that matters. And the filmmaking lets you in on that because there's so many interesting different scenes that present to you new information. And of course the practical effects are still amazing to this day. So leaning you into all the things that are happening, it's compelling, it's fascinating, and it's one of the most thrilling action adventure movies ever made. Seriously, if you've never seen Aliens, like, do you even consider yourself a fan of action movies? And even if you're scared of gore and blood, I mean, there's not really much to worry about here. This is just as straightforward of an action film as you can get. It's influenced so many movies that have come after, and I think it also deserves a lot of value because of what it did for promoting strong female characters, but not in the sense that they're taking away from strong male characters as well. There's a good balance there, especially with the Colonial Marines, and it's a fantastic time. With that, I'm going to give Aliens an A. As far as an age recommendation goes, like I said, it's not as gory or lurid, I guess you would expected it to be. Yes, there is definitely violence and gore, and you know, there's alien creatures that get smashed and blown up and, you know, riddled with bullets and stuff, but it's not so excessive to the point where you feel just grossed out. And there are certainly scenes where human characters get impacted by the violence as well, whether or not it's the acidic blood of the xenomorphs kind of cauterizing their skin, or that one horrifying scene of the nearly dead woman who's kind of stuck into the wall. But otherwise, I mean, I think for the most part, most people will be okay with what they see here, and I would recommend it for anyone who's at least 15 years old. Thanks again for watching, guys. Look forward to more content pretty soon. I'm hoping that next week I can get out my review for Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, because I've already recorded it with my friends and I just need to edit it at this point. And yes, at this point, I have seen Avengers Endgame. Expect me to get out a spoiler-filled discussion of that soon. Make sure you watch the movie before watching our video, because we're going to be discussing that movie in depth, and I don't want to ruin any surprises for anybody. Otherwise, if you've liked this content, please subscribe, but also check out my Letterboxd, Facebook, and Instagram pages in the links in the description below. And thanks again for watching. Have a good one.